Hi, I'm Trevor Highley, Head of Corporate Specialist Sales at Softcat. Today we're going to discuss how you can connect, protect and enable a hybrid worker. I'm joined by Adam.
Yeah, so I'm Adam Harding. I am the Chief Technologist for Digital Workspace at Softcat. And Louca?
I'm Adam Louca. I'm Softcat's Chief Technologist for Security. And to make this a little bit easier for you, we're going to use our surnames so you can more easily distinguish us against each other. So I'm Louca.
And I am Harding.
And I will remain Trevor, because there's not another Trevor in the room. So why are we talking today about how we can think about how to connect, enable and protect a hybrid worker? The reality is that over the past 2 years, many organisations have had to change the way they work fundamentally and how they support their users in turn. And whilst we're gradually returning to a new normal, and for all industries to different degrees, it will mean that users expect and often demand a more flexible way of working. And that means that we as organisations need to deliver IT in a different way. We've certainly seen cloud consumption accelerate very quickly. The digital transformation of cloud, which was initiated by COVID, accelerated greatly what would happen over a decade into a shorter time period. Secondly, we saw devices being rolled out very quickly in 2020. And now most customers that I'm talking with tend to be thinking about how do they now make sensible decisions to make the decisions they made in 2020 the start of a long-term improvement plan rather than a reactive plan. We believe there are three components when thinking about how does an organisation assist a user in the new world, and they are about how do you protect, connect and enable a hybrid worker. So Adam, the first component being protect. How would you define protect and how should a customer be thinking about how they protect a worker in the new environment we've talked about?
So you've got kind of three main components to think about. The first is delivering a security ecosystem that follows the user. We want the same controls to be applied no matter where they are. The second is thinking about evolving your IT operational processes to support patching and managing devices outside the network. And the final thing to consider is these devices may not always connect to a trusted network. In the event of connecting to a coffee shop or another shared network, making sure that they are safe and secure to rejoin your trusted corporate network.
Thanks, Adam. Some really interesting stuff in there. How does that link into what we talked about 3 to 6 months ago? We talked about integration, consolidation, and simplification. Any common themes there?
For sure. Fundamentally, the ecosystem approach is about building a set of security controls that are right for you. And whether or not you would take the platform approach or you take the integrated ecosystem approach, actually the same net result exists. And that's about delivering a faster, more secure, and more adaptable security environment that speaks to each other and shares information.
Thank you. And to continue with Louca before I move to Harding, same question, but we think about connect. How would you define and what are the common concepts to think about there, please?
So when we think about it, there's no point securing stuff if the users can't connect to the applications they need. Fundamentally, delivering IT is about delivering great user experience and allowing all users to access the applications that they need to do their job. So Connect is all about how do we deliver world-class connectivity for high, heavy bandwidth applications in more crowded environments. So that could be a new campus location whereby you've had an increased number of devices rejoining the network. It could be a shared space that's now being created to allow more collaboration. So how do we enable more connected wireless devices to overlap in higher density? The final piece, it could be about how do we get the traffic from your site to the internet. We know that there's been an explosion in SaaS-based applications, specifically for voice and video. And actually organizations are still trying to adapt to ensure that the users are getting great experience and that the bandwidth requirements are being met.
One of the other things I see coming up quite frequently with regards to Connect is the, I suppose, concern around the use of VPN.
Yeah.
Because once you're in, you've now got access to everything else on the network, and therefore I'm seeing this shift towards that zero trust network architecture. Is that something that is applicable to everyone? Is that something that's applicable to some customers? Is that an absolute fundamental foundation to this hybrid working piece? What's your thoughts on that? I
think zero trust is probably one of the hottest industry terms right now. There's zero trust everything. And zero trust really, to me, is a mechanism that enables us to authenticate and authorize devices in a continuous manner. So having an adaptable access policy that follows that user. The bit that's really important is about that user experience. Actually, zero trust network access is one mechanism that can be used to ensure users have the same experience on premise as they do when they're remote. It isn't a given for every organization. It isn't something that, if you're not doing zero trust network access, you're failing at your job. You need to go back to school and think about it all again. Actually, it's one approach.
And equally, it's not a product.
No, 100%. It's an architecture. It's an approach. And really what we're trying to do is think about, what do users need to access? Where do they need to access it from? And how can I provide a consistent experience that is both secure and performant?
So Harding, how would you define the term enable, and how has that changed for customers over the past 12 to 24 months, please?
So enable is really focused on two main themes. One, getting your people ready, and two, getting your technology ready. Now, when it comes to getting your people ready, that is about the realization that successful organizational change is built on the shoulders of successful individual change. Yep. It's about building awareness, it's about tailoring training, it's about creating the appetite for individuals to want to adopt and adapt to new workflows and work styles. And then once you've done all of that, it's really about reiterating and reinforcing those messages continuously until they become habitual. On the second side, when we talk about getting the technology ready, that's really about obsessing over the people-centric design. It's about going back to first principles. It's about taking the time to really thoroughly understand your organizational user personas, your modern ones, your new ones, the ones that have been spat out as part of this hybrid working approach. And once you understand these, and you understand them from the perspectives of workflow and work style, from the resource requirements they have, and from the performance they need, you're essentially given a validated blueprint of all the technology and the access requirements for each and every individual in your workforce.
All makes complete sense. And has anything changed in particular over the past 12 to 24 months in terms of pressure points or demands on customers in the areas you just talked about?
The reality is, those things were always the correct things to do. However, they were sometimes lightly skipped over. Yeah. So it's about realizing that when the pandemic hit, employees were sent home, and the best leadership teams around the world obsessed over the employee experience. And what happened is the applications started to change, the devices changed, the workflows had to change, the work styles necessarily had to change. And that employee experience continued to evolve whilst we were away from the office. But the office stood still. So there's this kind of dislocation, I suppose, between the two. And there is a moment now, and this is what makes life complicated, that as we reintroduce that office-based working into the mix, it needs to be add another string to our bow. It can't stifle the good progress that we've made with the employee experience and the workflows and things like that. So actually, it's more a case of now is the right time to do those things that maybe you thought you had nailed down, because your business has changed.
So it sounds like the pandemic has brought to the forefront at a C-level the two areas you talked about to make that more important to businesses.
Yes.
The challenge now is deciding or evaluating how to make sure the user experience is as strong in the office as it is when at home.
Yeah, it's about taking stock and making sure you are aiming at delivering the right experience. Because what you used to know is not, the goalposts have moved. And I think that's the main threat. And I think that there's also, when you talk about the getting the people ready side, I'm sure Luke has seen this as well, and I'm sure you have, Trev. We have delivered plenty of successful technology projects where all the lights in the help desk are green. However, there's still this nervousness by the customers to walk across the sales floor or the office floor or whatever and get the feedback that it doesn't matter that all your technology's landed, it has been implemented well, the change landed flat because the people weren't brought along with it. And this is a big period of change for organizations, and it's a big period of change for workers. So it has to be a big period of change for IT. If IT doesn't think there's been a change, then something wrong has happened there.
So there's certainly a link between the importance of users from both an enable perspective, also from a protect perspective. We were talking earlier about access to the network and to applications. When we think about planning from a user point of view, from a protect perspective, Anything you'd add to what you said earlier, Adam?
No, I just think when we think about what we're trying to achieve, it's about achieving that brilliant user experience and supporting that transformation. And fundamentally, security can be a blocker to that good work that you put in. So it's about getting security out of the way. It's about having security that adapts. And the way we do that is making it user-centric.
So, Luca, as a customer, I'm interested in what's been talked about today. How would I assess my status quo and then start to plan some shorter and longer term priorities?
So we put together a free of charge assessment tool to help our customers. If you go onto the campaign website, you'll be able to take a short set of questions that covers the 3 areas that we've spoken today. It'll provide you with some advice and guidance on things you might want to improve, and also direct you to some of the webinars that could be of interest to you. Should you know that you already want to look at this in a little bit more detail, you can already subscribe to one of our paid assessment services. We've got our security baseline assessment that will really help you understand your security model from a holistic perspective. Or you can look at the voice of the user, which helps you understand those user profiles and user personas.
So Adam, anything to add from your side?
Yeah, just that in January, we're going to be bringing you 6 webinars. Under Protect, we're going to be bringing together Microsoft and Zscaler. We're going to be bringing together CrowdStrike and Netscope. And then finally, we're going to be bringing HP Inc., which I'll be joining you for. Under the Connect banner, we're going to be working with Cisco, and then separately there's going to be a session with HPE, and then finally to round this whole thing out under Enable, we're going to be working with Mimecast.
And I think all these webinars together bring forward how you can think about integrating technologies to make best use of what you've purchased or plan to purchase in the future. So thank you, Adam Harding. Thank you, Adam Louca, and thanks for listening.